getting into it? Are we going to talk about Cody Rhodes? Is this what we're doing? Is this what we're doing, folks? Because we're not going to sugarcoat this. We're not going to pretend and be facetious about it, or like as Mr. Fretz was telling us earlier on the pre-show. We're not going to sit around here and talk about how much of a betrayal this is. It was sort of be angry about it. No, we're going to approach this in the most, encompassing way, because let's not kid ourselves. This is the biggest news story in wrestling to happen since AEW was announced and was put together. There has not been, this is bigger than CM Punk returning. This is huge, and we are not going to sugarcoat this. This is a big fucking deal. In case you haven't heard, which it could be, I don't want to take for granted that anyone here listening, watching, hangs around Twitter all day. God bless you if you don't. Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes, part of the original AEW crew, along with the Young Bucks and Tony Khan, have left their promotion after failing to come to terms on a new contract with the company. Now, this has been something that's been going on for a few weeks now, right? It's 5-6 weeks. We were told that Cody, it was leaked on the internet that Cody was working without a contract. He was on a handshake deal since December, the end of December, right? Just before the new year. And I'm like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. I was memeing on it. Are you kidding me? Free agent Cody Rhodes. Hit the bricks. Come on now. No one was buying it. And why would you buy it? It didn't make sense. For the reasons I just said. He is one of the not just an OG, an AEW OG. He's part of the foundation. He helped build this company. He helped put it together. He was part of the brain trust that made AEW the thing that it was. I thought we were getting worked. Friends, lovers, countrymen. I thought we were getting worked. No way this was going down. My spidey senses were tingling up and down. We're going to read some stuff here. Because this is where we're at. Now, I'm telling you, even when the news started to leak a couple of days ago, and even when the statements were being put out, I was sitting there and I was like, that's a work. I couldn't believe it. I could not sit back and be like, yeah, just gobble this all up. None of it made sense. But we're going to read some stuff here. This is from one journalist named David Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer. Until the negotiations fell apart on Monday, most of the top people in AEW were not aware anything was up and figured both Cody and Brandy were staying. Several were surprised and didn't know anything until the day of. But one person did tell us that he never thought it would happen when Rhodes' contract expired. That person did actually know this was coming for a few weeks and categorized it as unhappiness, even though everyone said that the EVPs were getting along the best they have in a long time. They were working last week on projects for the future. One person close to the situation used the term, quote, heartbroken, but didn't know the machinations of the split. This boggles my mind, and it should. The ramifications of this, I think they're so much bigger than just will he show up at WrestleMania or not? Is he going to be in the elimination? Like that shit is ancillary. But I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's think about this for a second. Cody Rhodes, a victim of poor WWE creative, stuck in the mid-card, leaves the company, asks for his release, and it is granted. A guy who left WWE, and everyone just sort of gave a collective shrug. Because it's like, oh, Stardust is gone. Sure, whatever. He did Ring of Honor. He did New Japan. He rebuilt himself on the indies. Became a part of Bullet Club. Leveraged a grassroots campaign to elevate himself and his pals in the meantime via BTE stuff, their special connection with the fans, going after that fandom there, talking with people, creating connections with people, business connections, and then at some point saying, you know what, we are going to put on an indie super show. I can fill the Sears Center, rip. I can fit, because the name changed, right? I don't remember what the name is. That was what the rip was for. Cody's not dead. He says, I can do this without the backing of a major promotion. I can do this just with indie talent because the indie situation in North America right now is thrilling. There's people who want to work, and there are people who want to see these people work. It's just exciting. Let's do it. And he puts on the show. It sells out. It's a raging success. It becomes the template for what we know now as AEW. A guy who told us he would start a revolution, and goddamn it, no one doubted him. When I say no one, that's a bit... Most people believed him. It changed... AEW changed the landscape of the business. And AEW would not have happened the way it did if Cody Rhodes wasn't at the forefront of it. It honestly would not have been. Would have got something completely different if it was Matt Jackson doing this. Or Kenny Omega. He is bigger, excuse me, he is bigger now than he has ever been. Because people are saying, have him show up at WrestleMania, have him be the surprise opponent to Stone Cold, all that. That's how big this guy has become. He's a top name for AEW. He was a draw. Hang on. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. But he was someone that he was an important talent for the company. He was a symbol, and most importantly, and this is for the rest of this essay, I want you to remember these exact words. He is a symbol of this transformation, this moving away from the business of WWE into creating another company, another alternative, creating legitimate competition. He's a symbol. AK Germany left us a super chat, but I'll get back to it. It's super relevant, but I'll get back to it in a second. Thank you, by the way. But I'll get back to it. Trust me. So I can definitely see Cody like sitting down, right? He's sitting down with Tony Khan, and he's got all this leverage. Because don't forget, we're talking, AEW is one thing, but he had his reality show. He had the Go Big Show home show, the Big Show home, the home show of the Go Home Big Show. I don't know what it's called. The one with Rosario Dawson. Is she still even on that? I don't know. But the idea here, this is how it, and Rose to the Top was renewed for a second season. Now, TNT, of course, 100% of course, looks at AEW and is like, what kind of content can you create for us? Then asks people, then turns to AEW and says, what kind of extra content can you create for us? Give us more, like you're on our network, you're our property. Tony Khan says, I can give you a reality show. We can cross-pollinate. I can send one of my guys to one of your other shows, because that's what the network wants. It wants to use its other shows to drain people onto these other shows and vice versa. That's how TV works in these days. So all of this makes sense. So Cody's like, I have all of this. I have this kind of leverage on top of that. Plus, we discovered this week that most of these contracts that the top guys in AEW have, they have options. Chris Jericho, the Bucks, they have options. They're all for, I think it was all for 3 years, maybe outside of Kenny Omega, but they all have options that Tony Khan can call on. It's like, I'm keeping you an extra year. So one would assume that Cody would have one of these options in his contract as well. And as AK Germany 96 points out in his super chat, thank you very much, by the way, AK. Says, I'm surprised they didn't do a short extension till the pay-per-view. I'm going to miss Cody. He was fantastic in year 1 of AEW. People forget that. Thank you very much for the super chat. And yet, like, I believe that a lot of people forget how more than year 1, the TNT title reign, how quintessential it was to the company, because the reverberations of that title reign are still very, very much felt today. But we'll talk about that in a bit, because the focus that I want to talk about here is the short extension you're mentioning, or even activating the option, right? And this, to me, is the biggest tell of this situation. This is the tell, where it's like, they were just unable. There's a level of unhappiness, I think, that can be gleaned out of this. I don't have any backstage information. I'm sitting here, I'm drinking some blue Gatorade, and I'm shooting the shit here. But for the boss to not even activate an option and be like, look, you want to go. Sure, money was probably a factor, most probably. I've read some stuff online, of course, where it's like Cody wanted to make as much as CM Punk did, or as Bryan Danielson is making, right? That's fine. One would argue, is Cody Rhodes as big a star as CM Punk and Bryan Danielson? I think we could have a very, very interesting panel discussion on that. I think all sorts of opinions are valid in this type of situation. If you were to ask me, unchallenged, unprompted, I would say no. Cody Rhodes is not as big a star as CM Punk or Bryan Danielson. I don't think he's on that level of a draw. I really don't. I don't even think he's on the level of a Jon Moxley, to be perfectly honest. Or Kenny Omega, who are specifically people that I sincerely believe people buy tickets to go see, ergo the definition of a draw, which I don't think Cody was anymore at least. Maybe there was a time, but I don't think that's what it is. So the point being, going through AK's point here, I think there has been, I think this is a testament to some sort of disconnect with Tony Khan, unhappiness overall in the direction of where things were going, maybe how the promotion was going, or how his own character was going as well. Because You, these are all the elements that I'm not sure. Of course, we don't know, but it kind of does give you that impression that there was more going on here. Because don't kid yourselves. AEW is the Tony Khan show. And it has been the Tony Khan show since January 2020. I don't know if you all remember the dismal end of 2019 that Dynamite had. I don't know if you remember. And this was at a time where people were saying, oh, the creative process between everyone sits at the table and there's a lot of free exchange of ideas and everyone goes around like this and that. And then we got to December 2019 and we're like, man, these shows are starting to stink. There's no direction. It was all over the place, and there were some ideas that were being pushed that we just was like, what the hell are we watching right now? And then in 2020, we come back, you start hearing reports that, oh, Tony Khan has taken over all aspects of creative, and then boom, the show is on rails, and it's just like bang, 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 bang. It's just dynamite, 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 and I'm being, a dynamite, 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 dynamite. It's his show. So if Cody probably still had some inputs, so on and so forth, sure, but probably not on the level that he wanted. Probably not on the level that he had, one would even go as far as to say. It's like maybe he even had a little more than that. I don't think this was all about money. Of course, if he's going to McMahon land and joining Vince's house of beefed up beefcakes, of course, he's going to get the bag, as the kids like to say these days. I sound old when I say that, don't I? But it's true. If he goes there, he's getting a big payday. And I think Cody is smart enough to know that he's a cog in the wheel. And he's just, as he said before multiple times, it's kind of became his catchphrase. He bet on himself again. It's like, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to do the WWE shit, but in a much better position than I was in the past. And good for him. Now, what does Vince see in Cody Rhodes? Right? See, he's a spoke on the wheel, as chat says. Does Vince see something in Cody now? Because he sure as hell didn't see it back in the day. Maybe. At first, for sure. Why? Because Cody, as I said, is a symbol. And Vince is going to take great pleasure in flaunting the fact that he converted one of the generals of the opposing army, right? That they defected, and they came back to the one place that matters, right? This is the top thing for him, right? So that's what, out of the gate, Vince McMahon sees this as an opportunity. Do you think Vince watches AEW though? Do you think he's gonna, he's looking at everything Cody was doing and is like, oh, we could do this here? Vince doesn't even watch NXT. So no. He has no clue how Cody's been portrayed. And he doesn't care. Because at this point, the Cody signing for Vince is all about optics. Like I said, we grabbed one of the founders. He came back home. He said to himself, I can go do it better somewhere else. But no, he came back to Vince because I run the top promotion in the world. This is what I am. And the grass is always greener on Vince's side of the road. Or yard, because roads are usually paved. I'm getting off track. But that's the point. Is Vince will indeed talk about optics. Because that is, if that is one thing that WWE is most concerned of. That's the one thing that they are in the business of. That is optics. Making sure that they look good or not too bad. That's the one thing that they have always been specialists in. It's just like, I made $1 billion last year. I make the rules. You want to come here, Cody? That's fine, but you're going to play by my rules. Whatever. If Cody has any aspirations, you guys know what kind of environment he's going to have to sift through to even start sniffing any kind of real power in that company. Vince doesn't care about, he's going to care until the Cody sheen is gone. And then Cody, you know what? My official prediction, Cody Rhodes is going to become the highest paid mid-carder in WWE. And I'm not even trying to make Cody is my favorite mid-carder joke here. That's literally what I think. I think he's going to be, I think that's exactly what he's going to be. Hey, Pluggo, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Now.
Oh, yeah.
AK Germany 96 left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, wait till Vince discovers Cody's stupid tattoo. Cody Rhodes wrestles only in turtlenecks moving forward, guys. Oh, fuck, he doesn't want Kevin Owens to wrestle without a t-shirt on, so. We know how Vince can get. Here's something that Cody could potentially be, though. A talent drain. He could potentially, and I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but he could potentially be a talent drain for AEW. Starting to get guys and gals in from the other company, bring them in, you know, when their contracts start expiring, or they request their releases or whatever. You never know. Cody becomes a pipeline into the company. Maybe some guys sort of and gals are like, oh, no, okay. Well, if Cody did it, I can do it too. Sometimes it only takes one person, right? I could see that, despite the fact that I don't think WWE cares about bringing in pro wrestlers because they're not interested in pro wrestlers anymore. We see the state of NXT right now. We see what they're doing in the Performance Center. They're hiring gymnasts, athletes, college sports athletes. That's what they're doing now. They're not bringing. They fired all the wrestlers. They fired all the indie stars outside of a handful of them. Keith Lee, for fuck's sake. I'm not going back on that. But the point is that they don't care about pro wrestlers. But if Cody can spot a couple, and it's like, why not open the door for MJF? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen. And the point being is that WWE doesn't care about pro wrestlers or putting people on TV, but I can damn well tell you that Vince McMahon cares about sticking it to his competition. If Vince has an opportunity to start draining AEW of its top people, he will take it, even if it means sitting their ass down in catering and leaving them there. Do you know why I think he'll do that? He can do that because he's done it before. And he'll do it again if you give him the opportunity. So maybe Cody, can become this, this I don't want to, it's not a mole, but, you know, a drain, a pipeline of talent. But it's not because the grass is suddenly going to become greener in WWE's side. It's because Vince wants to starve the competition. I talked about it a bit, but I still want to read this bit from Meltzer's article. Tony Khan said that he had options on all the key talent for 2022. Rhodes did have an option year and possibly a 2-year one, so it would have been Khan's call not to exercise it. While we don't know if the Rhodes' deals are different, the big key original deals with the Young Bucks and Chris Jericho were all for 3 years, meaning they would all end this year, plus an option period. The Bucks and Jericho's options were picked up, and they are still with the company. Kenny Omega's first deal was for 4 years. Chris Jericho was the highest money deal in the company until CM Punk came in at what was believed to have been the same level of money. So again, like I said a little earlier before, this is Tony Khan's show now. And I think what this also exposes here is that the call for the title of EVP in AEW is absolutely meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like titles that they slapped on each other, and because we started the company, we had some sort of investment in it. EVP is in name only. Ultimately, it will always be about the talent. It will always be about the creativity. It will also always be what they do on TV moving forward. I think Tony Khan, in this situation here, probably sent a message to the rest of the locker room, because there is a message here. No one is above me. And that's okay, because he's the boss. He's he's not an EVP. He's not a VP. He's the P. He's the CEO. He's the head of creative. He should be the last guy that everyone answers to. And he's like, the message that this sends to the locker room, for good or ill, mind you, is no one is bigger in this company than I am. If Cody and I can't come eye to eye to find something that works for both of us, I'll tell him to hit the bricks. And, you know, talking about contract release season and so on and so forth, if there's one thing that has changed tremendously in WWE over the past couple of years, especially in 2021, is release season in WWE, right? You get to, you know, post WrestleMania season, or, you know, like around the holidays, and there would always be periods where they'd be letting some people go, right? So what does that mean is that everyone sort of, you know, works extra hard, wants to really get things done. You know, they want to make sure that they can secure a place so that they don't get, so that they're not part of the, you know, the annual or biannual roster cuts, depending on the period, right? There hasn't been this situation in AEW, right? There hasn't been this moment yet where people are like, oh no, people are leaving. Or people should be worried for their jobs. But this is where we're at right now. This is what Tony Khan is setting out. He's saying, look, this is a company. It's a business I'm running. If you aren't contributing to my bottom line, if you aren't making strides to better the company that I am running, there's the door. You run with my vision or you don't. And I think this has been a wake-up call, and again, to the point that Mr. Freds was making earlier, where it's like, Cody betrayed us, so on and so forth. This goes to the point that AEW overall, I think that a lot of fans are getting this AEW fans are getting this shaking wake-up call where for the past, since 2019, it's been like one big happy family and people are getting along so well backstage, and look at all these great vlogs and everyone's smiling and having a good time and the atmosphere looks great, and you get reports that the morale is so good, and no one ever leaks any news to the dirt sheets because everyone is happy, and you know, people leak shit when they're not happy. So everything's peaches and cream. But now we're getting the wake-up call. We're getting shook here. This isn't a family. You know, it's a business. People are in this to make money. Got to go on TV, got to give good matches, got to get put on a good 2 hours of wrestling every Wednesday night so that the network will keep us on and give us money so that we can continue making these shows and paying your salaries. That's how it goes. So I think some of the friends, not the friends, but I think some of the very visceral reactions we're seeing from AEW fans is coming from the snap of perception being shattered a little bit, now realizing that it's a company, it's a business, and it's going to be run like a business. It's not a, you know, it's not a community center for wrestlers, it's a business. That's my main takeaway from all of this. This is Tony Khan's show.